We hit our 3-year anniversary on the 1st of April in the middle of a pandemic. Took over the venue in 2017 to stop it from being basically knocked down and turned into a block of flats, because it was a shithole, but it was our shithole, and I can say that with love. And if anybody else calls it a shithole, that is not okay. I can. The previous owner, he was like family to me, and I went to my first show here, my first live gig when I was 13. I mean, I met some of my first crushes here. I met lifelong friends here. And I went away to university and I kind of came back and I started my career in the music industry here, essentially. I started, putting on bands, and Kev would kind of walk me through it all. And then one day, they never really recovered from the recession, and one day he was like, I'm in a bit of a pickle. Someone's got to do something. I know this other guy is interested. Did some digging, this other guy was not good news, so then I went and found an investor. I don't know how I did it, pitched to them like Dragon's Den style. And they agreed to buy the building, pay for the renovations. They said we have 1 year to turn it around and prove that this could be a profitable business. And they didn't say how much we had to make. They just said we have to prove that it can be a profitable and viable business. And so for that first year, I literally drove myself to the brink of insanity, probably even past that, but we did it, and like, not just me, it's not just a me thing, it's a team thing. Every single person here, and every single person that's ever walked through these hallowed hallways is a huge contributing factor to what makes the shed the shed. We hit our 3-year anniversary on the 1st of April in the middle of a pandemic. I was sat right there, like that chair hasn't actually moved since I was last sat on it a few months ago. But I was here, and I remember it was the Monday of that week. I had a band in here rehearsing who had a big sell-out show coming up the following Friday. So the 27th of March they were supposed to play here. They'd already sold 200 tickets. They were doing a bit of a dress rehearsal. And obviously it was the 20th of March that the world shut down. So a few days before that Friday, 20th of March, I was sat in here. We just had a new order for some new wine samples. So I was kind of like trying the wine, but also de-stressing at the same time. Your world kind of collapsed. And we didn't have any funds that we could fall back on. And our insurance said that they wouldn't cover for the business interruption. And
we tried to keep a positive outlook on everything. And we thought, well, let's just keep going until it's impossible for us to. Because at that point, obviously nothing about the furlough scheme had been announced or even introduced. So we, didn't even have any idea of the concept that could exist. So we were like, if we don't keep going, the shed's just going to go. We can't afford to just close the doors and not have anyone in. Like, the place still costs money to run. You still need staff. You still need to pay them. You've still got bills. You've got rent. You've got everything.
We made the decision, we made a public announcement, we were going to stay open, we ordered loads of face masks and gloves and started taking precautions. And then obviously that Friday they said no, everything has to close. And it was kind of a relief in a way, because it meant that I didn't have to struggle on anymore because of the government forced closure. The assumption was they would help us, but if you choose to shut, you don't get that much help. So,
and we were actually really thankful when we were told we couldn't open anymore because barely anyone was coming. And when the furlough scheme was announced, we were kind of like, that's the lifeline we need, because even if we had kept open in those conditions with no one coming, like, we would have just gone down. So
that day when it happened, I cried a lot. I drank a lot of wine. I think I was halfway through a bottle of wine when Boris was making the announcement. It was equal parts relief and panic, because everybody only thought it would last for 3 weeks, you know? Nobody thought this is gonna go on for, what's it been now? 5 or 6 months? It was a really, really weird emotional roller coaster. And all I knew was I just had to protect the team. I had to do what I could do. So I got really emotional thinking about it because at this point furlough hadn't been announced. The grants hadn't been announced. Like, we had payroll coming up 4 or 5 days after we got told to shut, and I was relying on that weekend takings from the club nights we do to pay them. So I'm looking at the bank account, I'm looking at my team of 10, I'm thinking, how are we all gonna survive this? None of us have savings. Like, we all work here for fuck all, just because we love it here, you know? So, I mean, the whole thing is so royally fucked up. Like, it's just like, I think no matter what you try and do, somebody is always going to say you've got it wrong. I think personally for me, the first grant we got, the £10,000 one, that was really, really painless to do. It was, you go on a website, you click a couple of things, you fill in a couple of things, and then bam, the money just kind of showed up. And I'm in the middle of applying for the Cultural Recovery Fund at the moment, and that is not a couple of clicks, that's been a whole week of brink of insanity again for me this week, and fingers crossed we get it. I mean, hopefully by the time this comes out, we'll know, because this place will be open or closed, you know? But I think they did what they could do. I mean, like, compared to America, they don't have furlough, they didn't get given any grants, there is zero support, there is, you know, no real central hub of information, because I've got friends over in the States, and they're being fed all of this information, and their president's a fucking moron as well, you know? Like, at least Boris, you know, I know he's bumbling and he's a bit of a buffoon, but I think he has the economy's interests at heart, which I respect. I respect that, because yes, people are dying, but at the same time, if I can't pay my chickens, they can't pay to feed themselves, and you know, and their kids, so.
The problem is the kind of slight announcement that they're making with no detail, no information. So I think it must have been about a month and a half, 2 months ago, where they announced outdoor gigs could happen, but there was no real guideline there as to what capacity, how can people do that. So that was pretty bad. It didn't affect us because, you know, we've got the smallest smoking area in the world, so we can't really put outdoor gigs on.
Frank Turner actually did a live performance for us on Facebook. He did a live stream. He did a whole series of them to help independent venues, and the mum of a musician who comes and plays here quite a lot actually got in touch with Frank Turner on our behalf. Like, we didn't get in touch with him, and she explained to him how important the show was to her, to her son, because he had a lot of mental health problems, that all the vandalism as well. I mean, I'm still in a pile of debt from like paying for all the repairs to the vandalism at this point as well. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? I mean, I need to pay people, but there's no money coming in. He raised £11,000 for us in 2 hours. So that's kind of what saved us. That's what's kept us afloat. But if we don't get this next funding part that I've applied for, because not everybody's going to get it, like, you really have to fight your case for it. If we don't get that, then I am concerned. I am worried about our future. So we're being told March or April is when we might even be able to start thinking about operating as a normal venue again. Because, I mean, the layout that we've got in here today, the rows of chairs, a metre away from each other. Licensing have said that this is dangerous and we can't have this because you need to be 2 metres away, even if it's somebody facing the back of someone's head. This is still dangerous to them. So our capacity in this room alone has gone from 200 to 20. And I don't know how sustainable that can be unless you hike up a ticket price, but who's going to want to pay 20 quid to come and see somebody who you don't know, you know?
Again, a lot of people turn around and say, that happened, maybe that means you can do it. And what people don't realise is those bigger venues, obviously, it's still going to be shit for them being reduced capacity, but they can get more people in at a reduced capacity. It's the same with the gig in Newcastle that Sam Fender did, the big outdoor socially distanced place, and those people showing like, oh my god, finally we can get gigs back. And I kind of tried to put it into perspective for people, like this place we're letting, I think, 2,000 people in, which, great. But I said, the normal capacity of that field is probably a good 40 or 50,000. Like, that is a massive, massive reduction. And it's hard to maintain in a venue like ours or others that are only 200 capacity. So then if you put that in a ratio, we can literally have 10 people in here, and it's just a bit crap.
I think people are going to have to think on their feet. They're going to have to get creative. I mean, I love a pivot. I love having to think creatively about problem solving, but there's only so many ways you can look at one thing before you put your hands up and go, it's fucked. Those who have outdoor spaces, like the Sound House, they're going to be fine in the warmer months, but even the bigger venues, like the really big ones, if you don't have enough people in there, there's no atmosphere. The crowd don't enjoy themselves. Then, the performer then feeds off the crowd and vice versa. And the whole thing, it just kind of starts circling the drain. So I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot of energy from our side, but also from the public side as well. And wine. When venues reopen, let's be positive here, they're going to be at a reduced capacity. So you're going to have to pre-order, you're going to have to pay a bit more for ticket prices. The drinks prices might even be more expensive. But what I'm asking the public to do right now is to just pay it, because yes, you might have seen them for free before, but things have changed now, things are so different. And just be aware that venues don't sit on a pile of money. We're not money grabbers by any sense. Like, you don't get into the music industry to become rich. You do it for the love of it. So whatever we're doing, and however stressed out we seem to be, like, we're not money grabbing assholes, we're just at the brink at the moment. So I guess patience, and give us your money.
I mean, the things we are thinking about doing is, fortunately, we have a massive LED screen. So we're going to have to try different things like film nights and maybe some like musicals, like evenings and stuff like that, where we just show stuff on the screen. We're looking at acoustic shows, because I think that's going to be the only way we can have live music for the time being. And it's all doable. It means we can have a lot less people in here. So we're gonna try different things. We have cabaret nights and stuff here usually as well, so we're looking at putting some of them on, which are allowed. So yeah, when we reopen, it's not going to be the Shed as people know it for a while, but we're just going to have to keep trialing stuff and making things work for people, and hopefully we can get to that point, and hopefully next year we can return to normal.
You know what, I've not been great. I've struggled. So I'm very, very open when it comes to my mental health and supporting others, and I never used to be, and then I had a complete nervous breakdown a couple of years ago. And then I started therapy, and then like half the bloody staff like go to the same therapist as me now, and I'm a mental health first aider, and I'm training to become a certified, medical board certified neuro-linguistic practitioner, so I can understand more about the brain and the mind. But I've not been okay. The first few weeks were really, really difficult. I laugh and I joke about the amount of wine that was consumed, but it was a crutch for me because I couldn't sleep properly. I felt anxious all the time. I was stressed. I had brain fog, so I got diagnosed with chronic stress and dissociation disorder. Oh my God, almost 2 years ago now. And in order to fix those problems, you have to completely minimize your stress levels. And I was like, nah, I'm too busy for that. So I just kind of kept going. So it means that I now have what's called habitual burnout. So it's like normal burnout, but worse. Like, I don't do things in halves, Like, if I'm gonna have a mental illness, I'm gonna have, a snazzy version, aren't I? So it means that I keep getting more burnt out quicker and quicker as time goes on. So no, it was a really big struggle for me. I had to actually sign myself off sick for 2 weeks. I didn't do any work on anything. There was a point when I was coming in here to do building checks every week, and I just had panic attacks. I kind of walked through the door, and Toby, my husband, found me, sat over there on the floor, literally having a panic attack. He was like, what's the matter? And I was like, I need to get out of here. And then for the next 2 months, he then came and did the building checks for me because I just couldn't. It was like being stood at the bottom of a mountain, knowing you've got to climb to the top, but nobody's giving you a map. It's raining and you're wearing stilettos and you're like, how the fuck am I gonna get up there? And it was so overwhelming because it's not just me, it's not just my life. I've got my team to think about. I've got the freelancers who rely on me to think about. Like, it's a lot of pressure for one person, and because, you know, they are there and they can support me, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with me, and it's my decisions, and it's my work level that is gonna get us through this. So if I crumble, the whole thing crumbles, and like, in order to try and stop myself crumbling, I think I put too much pressure on myself, and then I just imploded completely. So yeah, so we went to Europe for a month, that's what we did. And then as soon as I came back, you know, I texted Carnell, I was like, we're going to the shed, we're getting a tape measure, we're gonna work out how to do this. And then this week I did the CRF application, the Cultural Recovery Fund. I cried a lot on Wednesday this week, I think, because I just felt so overwhelmed and I couldn't figure out what time to take the dog for a walk, and that was one decision too many for where I was at that point. And I just burst out crying, and Toby has been so supportive. He's like, right, okay, you need to stop work for the day. And I'm like, it's only 11 a.m. And he's like, enough, you're getting burnt out again. It's a case of managing it and managing my own expectations of myself, and also realizing that it's not just me. Like, I am not the reason this business could fail. The pandemic is, and I think once you learn to accept that, and that this really is out of your control, I don't know, it gets easier, I think. I have a few plans. I always have a few plans. I am a problem solver. I think that's why my mental health gets bad, because if I can't fix it, it fucks me up. With this, I've got a couple of different ideas, a few different things that I can try out. You know, we're getting a new screen installed because that's something that should have happened months ago because of the storms that happened over the winter. So we're getting a brand new screen from the insurance company, so it means we can have like film nights, we can live stream performances in from like bigger venues, because we did that a couple of times before, so we can hook in with people like that. So yes, it means maybe there's only 20 people in here, but it means maybe there's only 2 members of staff working at any one time, instead of all 9 of us together at the busy club night. So it's gonna be one of those things where, yes, it's lesser income, but maybe if we can do turnarounds, you know, have 2 or 3 seatings a night, for instance. So that's an idea. This funding, if we get this funding, we're fine. We're in the safe zone. We can get through until March without having a single penny be earned over that bar. But, you know, furlough's gonna end soon, and that's when things are gonna get bad for everybody, because I know that unless we get this grant, half of my staff, I can't pay them anymore after that, and that kills me. That really kills me. So I've kept in touch with them and, you know, tried to help them get other jobs. I mean, there's a new bar that's open around the corner from here, and they've offered some of my lot work whilst we're closed, which is really nice. So I've been trying to help them out because I think I know what's coming. I'm prepping, I'm bracing myself for the worst. So I think what they're doing with that Virgin outdoor space is good, with the little podium bubbles. I think a lot of the bigger musicians are gonna survive from doing that, but I worry about the atmosphere, because it's very much like Marmite with those. Like, when you look at the reviews, some people are saying it was great, but others are like, there was no atmosphere, and I felt a bit weird standing on my own, screaming and singing. Do you know what I mean? It's really strange, and it's really hard to predict. I think we're a long way off mosh pits. I think we're a long way off safe clubbing as well. But I have to believe that every day progress is being made in the right direction. And I have to believe that this place can open and function again as it was, because I think without that sense of belief, I will just not be able to get myself out of a dark place again. So I believe that it is all gonna be okay in the end. Even if we all have to get our own personal hamster balls to like roll around in, but I don't know, it's sure gonna be different, but so long as people keep an open mind and they're open to possibilities, you never know what could happen, hey?